You're back on the Mountain Morning Show, where we continue our Sundance coverage. I am thrilled to have from the film Unrest, I've got Jennifer Brea, Omar Wiseau, and Lindsay Dryden. Welcome all of you to the show.
Thank you.
This is a topic that I'm very interested in, because it seems that we seem to keep finding new issues that health-wise, that we think maybe we're suffering by ourselves in, but turn out to be something that many people have. Because of this global world we have with the internet, it makes that happen. That is exactly what happened with you, and this is due to a chronic condition called?
It's called ME. It's also more commonly known as chronic fatigue syndrome, and it's something that I've been suffering from for about 5 years. And basically, about 5 years ago, I had a really high fever and ended up bedridden with a disease that doctors couldn't diagnose. And they said I wasn't really sick, or maybe it was a rare disease, and eventually told me that it was all in my head.
Of course. That's the go-to, right?
Yeah, well, I think oftentimes when doctors don't know what's wrong with you, that's sort of what's left. And in reality, I went online and found this whole community of people all over the world who were also bedridden or homebound, who were connected to each other through the internet. And so that's really what the film is about sort of discovering this hidden world of people who've been suffering with this condition, many of them for decades.
And thank goodness you were able to find them.
Yes.
Because that changes everything for you.
Yes.
We have a clip from the movie. I want to get to it right now so we can talk some more after we come back from it. It's called Unrest. Here it is. This looks very intriguing, there's no doubt. And I think for you, you've had certainly many phases of that intrigue as you were trying to figure out what was wrong. Talk to me about once you figure that out and then have to start living with this chronic syndrome.
Yeah, and so the clip you just saw is sort of really about that. So it begins as me discovering what my disease is. And then I think as the film evolves and as my journey evolved, it became about, I think, these deeper questions that we all grapple with. So for me it was, if I never leave this bed, who can I be in this world, and what value does my life have? And this is my husband, Omar, as you saw in the clip. And we were just newly married when I got sick, and for us to sort of, in those first kind of really days of marriage, for him to become my full-time caregiver, raised all these questions about what our life would be and how we could find a way to be together in spite of being that sick.
Yeah, there's one thing, it's one thing to take care of someone as they age, is another to do it for a lifetime. And you were prepared to do that right out of the gate, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I mean, she was getting sick as we were preparing for our wedding, and so, those vows in sickness and in health were pretty clear that was the commitment. Even so, there's no way anybody could really anticipate how demanding being a full-time caregiver and trying to have a full-time job might be. And so but we have kind of leaned on each other and pushed through, and that's in some ways brought us much closer together.
Lindsay, as a producer, this story inspires you, I'm sure, especially when you consider, did you come in after the web part of this started, because you were actually filming out to the web early on, right? Jennifer, so is that when you came in?
I got involved back in 2014 after Jen had raised a tremendous amount of money online.
Yeah, the 8th largest I've heard?
The 8th largest Kickstarter campaign for documentary ever. Yeah.
That's impressive.
Which speaks to the number of people out there also having this experience.
Yeah, and the care
waiting
for
for
it.
the story to be told. Yeah.
And so at that point you're like, yeah, I'm in this.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because it's a story that affects more than people who have ME. It's a story that affects women, it affects people with disabilities, it affects so many of us, people who have relationships, and those relationships, develop, and we have to deal with what happens when the unexpected happens. So, yeah. This
has been, I'm sure, a catharsis for you in some ways?
Definitely. I mean, I think it was really, I've said many times, and I think it's still true, that making this film saved my life. And it was really in the process of meeting all of these people, and in some ways taking this really painful experience and being able to sort of make art from it and communicate and create something that I think can and has the potential to help a lot of people. So I'm really grateful that I have the opportunity to do this.
I'm sure your love much deeper for all of this. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, it was a trial and a trial by fire, and we're still in it, but it absolutely has brought us close in ways that I think any just normal relationship, which, you know,
I feel like we've been married for like 40 years, you know? I mean, in like the best possible way, but in that sense of just like we've kind of lived that full range of everything together, I think. And I'm actually really, in some ways, grateful for that, as hard as it is, you know? And I think that's the thing that I really try to communicate in the film. It's like, this is horrible, and it's also has been an incredible journey as well.
Wow. Where can we see it and when?
Our world premiere is tonight at Temple at 9 p.m. And then we have screenings tomorrow at Redstone. And then we have Monday in Salt Lake City, Wednesday at the Sundance Mountain Resort Screening Room, and Thursday at the Library Center in Park
Excellent.
City.
It's part of series program. Which program is it part of?
It's in the documentary competition.
In the documentary competition itself. Excellent. I want to thank you guys so very much for being here.
Thank you so much for having
I
us.
certainly my hope is that this movie does exactly for you what you intend, which I think is certainly shedding light on what you're dealing with, but also reminding people that it's not all in their head, that there may be something wrong, and reaching out seems to be the way to do it.
There's a lot of science too, so.
Thank you guys so very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Don't despair. You're not alone. No matter what the ailment, you should look for help, and perhaps you'll find others who are in the same situation, much as our guest did. We've got a lot more coming up here on the Mountain Morning Show.